How much does it cost to change the oil in a Porsche 911? You got a few options and you've only got a little bit of money in your wallet. You got to decide what you're going to do. I've seen a few debates on the internet about picking the right place, going to the dealer, doing it yourself. When I was 18 years old, graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. So I went and moved from one town to another, moving with my dad. My dad lived right next to a community college. I'm gonna go to that community college. I didn't know what I was gonna do. The job I could get, take the least amount of school to get the most money in the shortest period of time. I figured out that I could become a radiologist technician. I thought, that's the way to go. 2 years in, and I'm out, and I'm making money. Signed up, Catonsville Community College in Maryland. Year one, I enrolled, quickly found out that I wasn't the stellar student that I thought I was. It's like, I never thought I was a stellar student. I never really got good grades. I got in trouble a lot. To be honest with you, I got kicked out of middle school, and I had to go to another school in another town called Gateway in Westminster, Maryland. I had to ride the short bus, and I was told I'll never be anything. So, I got enrolled in Catonsville Community College, and guess what happened? I looked at my classes, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I remember 081. I don't know if that's a correct code for the math class or not, but I was in math 081. So I remember I had to take 2 or 3 math classes to get to the point where the math class that counted for credits completed. So I was like, this is a waste of time. My whole entire first 2 or 3 semesters would just be classes to get me to the classes I needed to get credits to get the associate's degree. So I was like, my 2-year plan turned into a 3-year plan. So I was about 6 months in. I had a part-time job while I was going to school. I worked at Pep Boys at the parts counter, Route 40 in Maryland. Love that job. Worked there every single day and on the weekends. I think I had a couple days off here and there. Like in the evening, I had different, like that retail type shifts. At the time I had a 1990, I had the Civic. I had a 95 Civic, single overhead cam VTEC. The car you see in Fast and Furious, the same exact model or year. Turbo action. Civic my Civic was lowered. I had an intake and stuff, and I didn't know what I was doing. I took the vacuum from my dad's Toro vacuum machine, and I routed it I took the airbox out and routed it from the intake manifold, from the throttle body, down into the front grille of the car. I was sucking leaves into the engine, and I thought I was gonna be Dom from Fast and Furious or Paul Walker. So I had the Civic, and I was working there, and I was obsessed with cars. I just want to be a mechanic. And I met this guy who worked there in the shop. His name was Ratty, I can't remember his name. He was Jamaican. And he told me about flat rate. And I'm like, what's flat rate? He's like, if you do a job in 8 hours, but it only takes me, if the book rate pays 8 hours, but it takes me 5, I get the 8 hours. I get paid 8 hours. Damn, what? He's like, oh yeah. I was like, how much do you make? He's like, I make 150. Damn, it's a new 911. He's like, I make 150 to 160,000 a year, and this is in 2003. What? Forget the rad tech. I want to be a mechanic. It's like, how do I become a mechanic? How do I become a mechanic? I found out about Lincoln Tech in Columbia, Maryland. I dropped out of school and I got into Lincoln Tech, and Lincoln Tech sold me this dream of go to Lincoln Tech and become a BMW mechanic and work on the race team and all this stuff. They had a Formula 1 car in the lobby. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I remember mechanics coming into Pep Boys, because I used to work in, what was it called? I can't remember the name for the commercial department of Pep Boys. But we sell to shops and stuff. Techs from shops would come in, or owners of mechanic shops would come in, and they'd say, why do you want to be a mechanic? Are you an idiot? Don't you want to work in the air condition? What are you doing? And I was like, no, I want to be a freaking mechanic. It's my dream. So, I have the 95 Civic with the vacuum with the vacuum tube, dude. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. So I backed into a parking curb and I ripped the muffler off my Civic, and I used to go to Northern Parkway all the time, and we would street race and stuff, and my car was slow, but I would go there with friends that had faster cars. And I was friends with these guys that worked at another shop. They were mechanics, and they all had Civics. They had dual overhead cam VTEC, with some of them had them turbo kits and stuff, and an Integra. And we would go to Northern Parkway. Leave a comment if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Park Heights, Northern Parkway. There's a lot of street racing and stuff people used to do there in Baltimore. So we would go there sometimes. Everyone would be like, dude, I love your exhaust. Your exhaust sounds nice. It did sound good because it was straight piped, but there was no muffler. But I told everyone I had an exhaust, but you couldn't see anything because it was ripped off. And So I just got deeper and deeper into cars, you know. So I go to Lincoln Tech. I'm going to Lincoln Tech. It's a 2-year program. I'm in there for about 6 months, and then my mom was a speech pathologist at an elementary school, and she helped this family, and the family's husband was a mechanic, a diesel mechanic, but on the side he would do a lot of work in Baltimore, like at the ports and stuff in Baltimore. And she said, my mom's friend, she became friends with the family. My mom's friend said, hey, my husband is a mechanic. Would Chris ever want to go work with him? He needs a helper. He'll pay him like $25 an hour. So I started working with him on the weekends all the time. And it was all Detroit Diesel 60 Series work back then. And like we would change the gear case on the 60 Series and reseal them. We would do like the bull gear. And we would do all kinds of stuff. But eventually I got to the point where he's like, why are you going to Lincoln Tech? People go to Lincoln Tech to get a job where they're making like $20, you know, like where you're making decent money. He's like, I'll give you a job right now at the shop in Washington, D.C., where I'm the foreman on the night shift. So I was like, all right. I applied there. I got the job, $16 an hour. It's my first mechanic job. I left Pep Boys. I left Lincoln Tech. And I'm thinking, man, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I didn't finish anything. But so I left Lincoln Tech. And then, you know what it was? I failed fast. I always optimized. I would figure out what it is that was going to work, and I just went with it. I didn't care about the way it looked. Vanity metrics. I didn't really care about that stuff. Like, oh, I finished this and I did that. I just was like going with the flow. I was in survival mode. I was like, I need a job. I need to get money. I need to get going. I got married young. I got married at like 22 years old and had my first child when I was 23. We have 4 kids now. So I leave Lincoln Tech. I get the job and I start off as a mechanic. I'm a D mechanic. I'm the very bottom of the barrel. And I worked there for about 16 years. When I left, I was a head mechanic. I was one of the top guys. Me and one other guy on night shift named Flash. We troubleshot and fixed all the Allison hybrid systems for pretty much all the DC buses. Like every Metro bus you see, like that's a hybrid that has the door, like hatches on top that open. Most of them start with a 6, like 6503 or 60. I've stood on every single one of those buses or been inside of every one of those buses because I had to do recalls, a lot of recalls for Allison transmissions, dual power inverter modules, and ESS, the storage system, like Panasonic batteries on top of the bus. So we troubleshot those buses. By the time I left, I was making like $36 an hour. For me, I'm even proud of that today still. I think back, I'm like, give me that job back, dude. If something goes down, like if my business fails now, that's where I'm going. I'm going right back to being a mechanic because I really that's who I am. I'm still a mechanic, you know? So you want to know how much it costs to change the oil in a 911? All right, I don't know how I started talking about all this stuff. Wow. Welcome to Daily Driven ADHD, where we tell you everything you don't need to know. So when I had my 993, I thought, where am I going to get the oil change in this thing? Like, I didn't even want to bring it to the dealership. So I wanted to find a Porsche specialist. You know, you could do it yourself, but with those cars, man, you pay $200 and some thousand for a air-cooled 911. You want to have a log, a documented log, like on the Carfax report, like maintenance logs, you know, for the car. It's so helpful when you go to resell it. So if you have a 911 now, yes, you can change your own oil. It's not a bad thing. You save a lot of money. Or you could find maybe like a specialty shop where you can get like a deal. Like some of them do like 3 oil changes for $400. Or you go to the dealer and you pay $400 for 1 oil change, you know. Or you do it yourself and you keep a log in some type of logbook. Some people don't like those logbooks though, the way that maybe now with the internet or something online, you could maybe there's something you could log it in. But most people don't. With the resale of those cars, if it's a super valuable collector style car, I'd probably take it somewhere to get the oil changed. Me personally, I know it's expensive, but I mean, when you get into these cars, unless you're like me where I was young and I wanted to get into cars and I didn't have the money and I was just scraping by, I didn't have the money for the gas for the car, but I got the car, do your own oil change, you know, you're going to keep it forever and just enjoy it. But if it's a car where you're like an enthusiast and you're collecting these cars or you're going to possibly resell it or flip the car, it does not hurt to have the log. So keep that in mind. But the cost of an oil change on a 911 at the dealership, it can range anywhere from $400 to $600. And when that car goes through into that damn tunnel at the dealership, they're hitting you for all kinds of stuff, dude. I'm telling you, they're going to tell you need to flush your coolant, you got to flush your brake fluid, you need to, there's always something. I mean, you can say you don't want to do it, but guess what? It's going to go on that report that it came in, recommended brakes. The car I was just bidding on, the 991.2, no. Yeah, the 991.2 on Bring a Trailer. Somebody got it for $89,000. I stopped at $88,000. I backed out. That car, on the Carfax, on the maintenance log, it literally said, checked brakes, mechanic checked brakes, recommended something for the brakes. They had a noise or something. Recommended this, and the guy didn't do it. And that was the big thing in the comments, was what's up with the brakes. The guy actually took the wheels off and took pictures of the brakes, drove the car and filmed the brakes to show the noise and how it wasn't an issue. Because people were like, what is that? What's up with the brakes, you know? So these cars they're not cheap, and I don't think they're really going down in value. Yes, all cars depreciate, but a lot of these, Porsche has one of the lowest depreciation rates out of all car manufacturers. It's like 3.9% a year or something on average. Certain specs, certain years. Like you get you I had a 1998 C2S 993 with the carbon exclusive package inside, all carbon fiber inside, had the black brake calipers, had the sports smooth like gloss black seats. What else did it have? It had carbon steering wheel. That car, the spec sheet, if you, on a Porsche 911, on a Porsche, if you, I say Porsche because if you say Porsche, some people get triggered. It's Porsche. You know, like, all right. Then I was arguing with some guy, not arguing, but he was like, well, you don't say Porsche in America. If you're foreign, you say Porsche. If you're American, you say Porsche. I was like, gosh, dude, I didn't know that there was all these rules. I just want to drive the turbo. Just give me some damn turbos, you know? Ooh. I'm sick of this traffic. Well, there's another 911. We got a 991 orange Turbo S. And if you open the hood on a 911, the sticker on the underneath the hood has the specs, all the codes. Like that's what my 993 also had X71 gauges. So if you see X71 on the little sticker, that's the white gauges. You know, like so everything has a code. So that particular one, when you open the hood, the damn code, there were so many codes they had to have 2 stickers. So when I saw that, I was like, dude, this is unique. Oh, it had the lowered suspension from factory. Had the hollow turbo twist wheels where the hollow inside one's a little bit lighter. It had everything I wanted. I sold it like a fool. Certain cars like that really unique. There's something about them. I think you buy these cars and you're going to resell them and you want to keep the value. Good to have the log. So, and you might not want to listen to me either because I'm driving around 41 years old, middle of the day. I should be at work or something. I'm driving around the 911 spoiling up the turbos. Only live once, right? Might as well enjoy it. So if you have a 911 and it's a rare spec or one you spend a lot of money on, don't underestimate the power of getting it done somewhere so you have that paper trail, digital paper trail connected to the VIN number. So I'd say the dealership, it's the most expensive, and a lot of people might not like this advice, but if not, maybe a specialty Euro shop or something that also knows what they're doing. So I wouldn't be rolling up in Jiffy Lube and the kids stripping out the drain plug. If you do it yourself, you could keep receipts for the oil filter, the drain plug, things like that with dates. And then you could use apps like Carfax, Car Care or something like that. There's some other apps like Autoist, I think is one. But you keep a log, and then you've also got the receipts from the actual physical receipts from the oil and filters and stuff you purchased too. It seems like overkill, but honestly, dude, I've seen sales on Bring a Trailer. I look at so many and bid on so many cars on Bring a Trailer. I've literally watched cars sell for way less than they should because there wasn't a lot of maintenance history. All right, I've got the 911 parked. I'm going back to the car. I got to get my laptop charger. I'm working in a coffee shop. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate you guys watching.